what's the thing that constantly comes up and you're like, God damn, why am I still fucked up?
Oh God.
What's your block?
Yeah, it's you know, in the career of entertainment and like being an artist and an independent creator in whatever form that is, there's this constant negative self-talk. There's the ever looming trap of comparison with others. There's toxic traits of feeling imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not really that guy. I'm not really going to do this forever. I don't think I'm that good, and da-da-da-da-da. And I wrestle with that a lot, and I talk to people about it a lot, and I think about it a lot, and I have my own practices to try and chip away at that, as much as I can. And I think it's a human thing. I think it happens for a lot of people, not just in entertainment, for in any position. I think I'm not just speaking about like actors and creators, but I think it's probably.
Do you think it's more
a lot of
acute?
people.
Do you think it's more acute for actors and entertainers?
Acute,
like that pain that pain of like being a fraud, that pain of negative self-talk. Like, do you think that shows up? Do you think that is like, I often think there's this doc on North Korea. I forget the name of it, but it was on the North Korean, that big fucking parade that they put on every few years.
Oh yeah.
And they showed in the homes of some of the performers in North Korea, because it's all government housing, there are these speakers in the kitchen with government propaganda coming through the speakers, and you can't turn off the speakers.
Yep.
Right? And I think of that as like my negative self-talk.
Totally.
Is like this speaker in the kitchen that I just can't turn off. I'm like, fuck,
that's
just
it.
Stop. I've
100%.
heard it before.
Yeah. Totally.
It's Kim Jong-un just shouting
You have your
shit.
own Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. You're not good enough, Kyle.
That idea sucks.
Yeah.
You're not getting followers this month for a reason.
You should give up.
Yeah, totally.
Your best is behind you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. And people really fall into that. And I don't know. I'm sure a psychologist could break it down much better than I could. It might be some code that's written into our DNA that allows us to survive by being in a constant state of fear, so that we can protect ourselves from taking a big risk that might end up in failure, and then we can't like eat or procreate. And that might be like a very inherent part of our wiring.
Yeah.
But overcoming that gives you the opportunity to succeed in that bigger endeavor, and to succeed when you take that bigger risk, and to actually become more prepared, so that risk turns into less of a risk and more of just a step in the right direction. And that's what I'm constantly working on.
Has your self-talk gotten better over the years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How?
Because I have different practices that I put into place when I fall into those moments, or when I start to have that. And
actually, I'm just remembering a bit you did where you're like, Joe Rogan will never be your friend. And negative affirmations in the mirror.
Yeah,
fucking great.
My friend, do you know who Aubrey Marcus is?
I do. I know Aubrey.
Oh, great. Yeah. So he's working on a
Aubrey and Kyle Kingsbury.
Kyle, I was just with them for a week
at
their thing. They're great. So he's working on a book right now, all about the anti-you. And it kind of falls into that realm of like this darkness that's always with you, that you think is you, but it's not you. It's a separate you. And I'm sure I butchered that, but he can explain it better. But anyways, to answer your question, there's different practices I have. One of the things that has stuck with me for a long time is something somebody said. I don't know if it was my therapist friend or somebody else, but they said, when you get that negative voice in your head, it's not you. You treat that voice as like a house guest. House guests come and then they leave. At some point, they're gone. And if you can separate yourself from that voice and from that darkness and from that negativity, then it just becomes like a silly thing that's inside your head and inside your body. Yeah. And you can look at it from an outside perspective, and you can acknowledge it without like keeping it, without offering it a bed, without changing the covers so that it feels comfortable. Yeah. You just watch it. You feel like, damn, I have this thing inside my head right now while the fucking voice is running. Yeah. And then eventually it's gone, you know? And there's other things. You meditate, you do sauna or breath work or whatever. There's a journal. You know, a lot of people have different physical practices that they do, but one of my practices is that mental one, which is separating myself
Sure.
and viewing it as just a guest. I think it might have been Tony Robbins. I forget.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He has some good stuff to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The latest thing that I've done to try and grapple with that monster is realizing that there are times of day when the voice comes on more prevalently. Like in the afternoon after a big lunch, all of a sudden I get depressed.
Really?
And I'm like, fuck again. But if I know, like, okay, voice is coming in now, it's 3:30 p.m.
Yeah.
I can like armor myself for it and be like, okay, it's time to go for a walk. Because if you try and write right now, you're gonna feel like a total failure.
Totally.
It's like I know now what time of day the house guest is coming over.
Totally. That's awesome.
But it helps because at my worst, it feels like depressive thoughts feel so broad. Like the statements about the self are not like, oh, right now this thing is happening. It's like, you've always been a failure. Right. Which is just, so it anything I can do to manage like timing of it. Like, okay, it's going to come in right now. And I think it goes back to doing the Excel sheet of like, okay, well, here's evidence to the positive mind of like, I've been exercising this much. Like, look, there's evidence that there's good stuff. And then someone says something funny, you see something makes you laugh, and then it's like, poof, the voice is gone.
Yep.
It's amazing to me how quickly it can come and go.
Yep.
And how quickly just something like one funny thought can evaporate it.
Totally. And for some people, it's really, really hard. For some people, it's actually more comfortable to be in that negative state because it's safe there. You don't have to do anything.
Well, it's certain,
and nothing is your fault either. And that negative voice starts blaming other people or other ways. Starts blaming like what did I just had it in my head, and then the negative voice came in and said, "You're not going to fucking deliver this, right?" But there's a certain comfort in being in a negative headspace because nothing is your fault and you don't have to do anything.
Sure.
You know? Yeah. And I've been there before for long stretches of time. For sure.
Yeah. Well, it's great that I think it's the best thing about spirituality going mainstream is that it is giving people a lot of tools to overcome what previous generations just dealt with alcoholism and violence.
Yeah.
It's not like people didn't have the negative voices in the past. They would just like beat their wives. And like, this is making me feel better. Right.
Totally.
Now we journal.
Yeah. Now we breathe through our nose and out through our mouth.
Yeah. I really do. I mean, I do think there was a lot of wisdom in the 1960s hippies movement.
Yeah.
Right. But it was seen as a leftist thing, and it took a long time for people to be like, like maybe breathing isn't political.
Right. Right.
So that's really cool.